A Democrat state senator from Tennessee has just been sentenced for wire fraud, but thanks to a judge who was appointed by Barack Obama, she will serve no prison time. Unfortunately, this judge has a history of giving light sentences to criminals. In a previous unrelated trial, this same Obama appointed judge was removed by an appeals court after she refused to sentence a baby predator to prison, instead sentencing him to home confinement. State Senator Katrina Robinson blamed racism when she was expelled from the Tennessee Senate last month for her federal convictions. In July of 2020, prosecutors accused Robinson of stealing more than $600,000 in federal grant money awarded to the Healthcare Institute, which trains nurses and focuses on helping low-income minority students, and using the funds to pay for personal expenses and campaign events, including her wedding, honeymoon, and divorce. Robinson denied wrongdoing and called the effort to remove her racist and, quote, a procedural lynching. She was ultimately convicted of only 2 of the 20 counts, involving about $3,400 in wedding expenses in 2016. Before the 27-5 vote to remove her from the Senate, Robinson argued that she had been unfairly judged by the white majority body. On Friday, Robinson was sentenced to just 1 year supervised release by Judge Cheryl Littman, who was appointed by Barack Obama in 2013 and previously served as Vice President of Comprehensive Services at the Memphis Race Relations and Diversity Institute. Judge Cheryl Littman made the decision after a lengthy hearing on Friday, saying several factors went into determining that Robinson should not spend any time in prison. Some of those factors included all of the good Robinson has done in the community, Littman said, pointing to Robinson's service as a nurse during the pandemic and her work starting the Healthcare Institute. Quote, if someone commits a criminal offense, that usually doesn't prevent prison, frankly, but I think in this situation, we're not talking about someone who's just done some average things, Littman said. She also said, quote, what you've done has been beyond average to put yourself out there as someone to serve the public. Other factors included the, quote, very significant loss that Robinson has already endured, including the loss of her position as a senator, the potential loss of her nursing license, and the loss of her finances. And Robinson is already facing, quote, a very significant price, Littman said. She is now a convicted felon. Attorneys for the prosecution asked for a sentence of 10 months, the maximum recommended under guidelines based on the offense level, criminal history, and with 2 points added for obstruction of justice. In pre-sentencing documents filed earlier, they had asked for a 2.5-year sentence for the former senator, followed by a year of supervised release. They also requested criminal forfeiture. The state sought those sentences partly because of Robinson's words and actions over the past 2 years, prosecutors said. Quote, everything this defendant has done have all gone towards spinning a narrative that anybody else but her is responsible for the situation she finds herself in, said Christopher Cotton, assistant U.S. attorney, that it's politics, that it's racial animus on somebody else's part, that it's racism, sexism, that it's anything but her own actions. Given her abject defiance of accepting any responsibility in this case, there is a legitimate need to provide deterrence in this case, to quite frankly protect the community from future crimes of the defendant because she simply doesn't believe she's done anything wrong. However, the Obama-appointed judge, Cheryl Littman, departed from the guidelines at sentencing, saying Robinson had already suffered greatly and the Memphis community would gain no benefit from prison time for the nursing school administrator, community leader, and mother of 2. Here is a post from March 11th where she thanks her supporters for their calls, texts, donations, letters, and gifts of encouragement. She adds a list of hashtags including Katrina Robinson, her story, I am Black History, Pretty Pictures, author, and executive producer. In a post just 2 days earlier, she asked her supporters to write letters of support on her behalf for the court. Here's a post back from January where Katrina Robinson says, "Join me tonight on Fox Soul to talk about the Senate's orchestrated effort to remove me from office and how other black leaders are being railroaded in an effort to disenfranchise the black vote and dilute black political power." Here's another post from Robinson that says, "Catch me in the morning on Black News Channel talking with Mike Hill and Sharon Reed about the attack on black political power that is happening in Tennessee and across the country." In another post, she shares a letter from the Davidson County Democratic women expressing their, quote, "extreme disappointment in our Tennessee Republican state senators that did not give Senator Katrina Robinson fair treatment in her removal from office on Wednesday, February 2nd. Transparency was lacking in the reasons, rules, and ethical boundaries being used by those who voted to remove Senator Robinson," they said. Not allowing Senator Robinson the ability to keep serving her district while her court matter is still pending shows lack of due process and looks only as a targeted campaign against a black Democrat female. The DCDW recognized that women, and especially women of color, are treated differently than their male counterparts in the same situation. Katrina Robinson has many messages of support on her Facebook page. Here's one supporter that says, "Senator Robinson, you are blessed to do the things in life whites feel they are only privileged to do. Don't waver and continue to speak your mind. Shut them down." Katrina Robinson replies saying, "Thank you for the support." In another post just before the hearing to remove Katrina Robinson from office, one supporter says, "Admire your stamina, truly an example for young women to follow. Closing of this door doesn't stop another from opening." Her supervised release will include standard conditions including collection of DNA, officer access to financial information, and mental health counseling. Robinson said that while she believes the judge made an appropriate decision in giving her probation, she does plan to appeal the decision from her September trial. Robinson was initially served with a 48-count indictment, but the counts were reduced to 20 by the time her trial started, with the government accusing her of misusing $600,000 in federal funding meant for scholarships at the nursing school she owned. Instead, prosecutors said some of the federal funding was used for personal expenses associated with Robinson's wedding, a Jeep for her daughter, designer handbags, and other items. At trial, Lippman granted a motion from the defense to acquit Robinson on 15 of 20 federal charges of fraud and embezzlement. After the jury found Robinson guilty of 4 of 5 counts of fraud, Lippman would go on to acquit Robinson of 2 of those counts, leaving her charged with improperly using Health Resources and Services Administration grant funds to pay for 2 personal expenditures related to her wedding in furtherance of a scheme to defraud the HRSA. One was to a caterer, the other to a makeup artist. These expenses totaled less than $3,500. Last month, she was expelled from her seat in the state Senate in a 27-5 vote, a move she decried as racist and misogynistic. Robinson had asked a Senate Ethics Committee to delay its vote until after her final sentencing in March, saying she would resign following the sentencing if she was still in office. After hearing from character witnesses, Robinson was given a chance to speak to the judge. Then she accepted responsibility for errors made in her nursing school's business practices, errors Lippman had earlier called very sloppy and blasted as people having, quote, "no regard for how important everything has to be when you're dealing with a federal grant." Robinson said, quote, "Since 2015, I have lived, breathed, worked, slept the Healthcare Institute. My business grew exponentially. I tried to keep up with it, tried to hire the right people, spent a lot of money on hiring the right people. The offenses at hand today are less than a year after that. While the prosecution says I am defiant in my refusal to accept responsibility, I do accept responsibility, Your Honor. I accept responsibility for not having the organization needed, not keeping a tight eye on things. Even today, you remarked about our record keeping and about the lack of respect on how important it was to be accurate. I can see you are correct, We could have done better. I could have done better. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think about this latest update. If you could give this video a thumbs up, remember to click the like button, that's greatly appreciated, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. As usual, thank you very much, everyone who has been supporting this channel with your donations over at Patreon or PayPal, and with your super chats as well. That's greatly appreciated. Even just a few dollars makes a huge difference and helps me keep talking about these important issues. You can find either link down in the video description where you can support this channel directly, patreon.com/realityreader or paypal.me/realityreader. And once again, with all the censorship happening here at YouTube, I'll remind everyone it's probably a good idea to find me on some alternative platforms as well. The best place where you can find me is superu.net. That's super, the letter u.net. You can also find me at odyssey.com. I will follow up soon. Thanks again.